Welcome to episode 264 of the Grip Strip Podcast, the Grand Slam and Domination edition of the Grip Strip Podcast. My name is Philip Matthew. I'm your host, and as always, I'm with the iRacing Indy 500 champion, computer genius, gentleman and a scholar, and someone who whooped all his friends' asses, Tiger Woods and Kyle Larson style, this past weekend. His name is Josh Refine. What's going on, brother?
Hey, I'm doing great, Phil. Of course, glad to be back on the show another week, and yeah, whooped them on them go-karting this weekend in Orlando. But yeah, it was definitely a lot of fun, and we all learned something from it, whether we were an expert like me or someone who hadn't been go-karting like a lot of my friends did. But no, it was good there. But yeah, of course, Kyle Larson dominated again this weekend, and probably could have gotten a sweep, but definitely, he won in Xfinity and Cup, so that's almost a sweep there at Bristol, though. So yeah, ready to get into it.
Yeah, it was a momentous weekend in sports with Rory McIlroy becoming the sixth player ever to win the Grand Slam in golf. Granted, he probably put people in the hospital in the process by doing it. So we'll mention that. We'll talk about it later on. We'll also talk about Larson, second time in a few weeks where he won 2 out of the 3 races. In the race that he didn't win, he probably had one, and a late caution dictated a different result, but I don't think we should really feel so bad for the fucking guy. He wins everywhere anyways. Kyle Kirkwood now is a 2-time winner of the Grand Prix of Long Beach after qualifying on pole. So great performance for him and the Andretti team, trying to get into the month of May with a lot of momentum. There will be a few weeks off now between the Long Beach Grand Prix and Baba. We will get into Oscar Piastri getting a dominant victory at Bahrain with Woody Russell and Norris and whoever. I'll talk about briefly, get into the enduro I'm doing. I guess it could be like sim segment, but I'll just mention that briefly. Might get into some football talk, but it depends on time. We will, the roundup is busy. F2 and F3 at Bahrain, F2 and F1 Academy at Saudi Arabia, IMSA 2 classes, GTPs and the GT Daytona class. Robert Wickens making his debut in the GTD category in a customized setup in a Corvette with Tommy Milner. We'll talk about Indy next as well. Long Beach, MotoGP and Moto2 at Qatar. Saw the world champion come back, and the world champion probably be knocked out for a good part of the rest of the season. And supercars raced in New Zealand. The Taupo Super Sprint. Formula E was in Homestead, Miami, using the majority of the infield road course, and a couple of and one, I think, Mickey Mouse chicane on the back stretch. World Superbikes were at Assen. The NHRA Forward Nationals at Las Vegas, where Anthony Wayne Stewart, at 53 years of age, became a Top Fuel winner in the 4 wides at Las Vegas, getting his first career Top Fuel win to add to his Hall of Fame legacy, winning in yet another type of race car. And then quick preview, World Endurance Championship, 6 hours at Imola. Saudi Arabian Grand Prix will be this weekend. Makes sense since it's Easter. We'll go and do the absolute opposite of what Easter is all about with murder. And then the NASCAR Xfinity and Truck Series will be going back to Rockingham Speedway for, I think, about the third revival of Rockingham. It sounds like there's good ticket sales for this weekend coming up Friday and Saturday. Candy Cane is making a NASCAR return in a Hendrick Cars sponsored RCR car. So if you want to talk about inbreeding, there you go. And so we'll preview all that. Josh will let us know all things going on iRacing and gaming in a sim segment, and we'll call it a day. So we'll start with the Grand Prix of Long Beach. It was a race. It was the soft tire, the option tire was basically not in play, wasn't usable for long periods of time. That led to very aggressive pit strategies that involved pitting 3 times. That kind of flipped the field around a bit, knocked some guys that were up front back, and some of the drivers that were buried a little bit, didn't have the best qualifying runs, ended up making some moves forward. But in the end, they were honoring, in the 50th running of the Long Beach Grand Prix, they honored Mario Andretti and Al Unser Jr., who won between the two of them, I think, 10 times at Long Beach. And in the end, somebody who has 1 Long Beach win ended up with 2 Long Beach wins, with Kyle Kirkwood giving himself a nice boost to start, to add to a solid start to his 2025 IndyCar Series campaign. 2 top 5s and 3 top 10s so far in 2025 with that win. So he goes out there, gets the W, gets a pole, and stops the winning streak for Hello Polo. But Hello Polo was right there with him. Kyle Kirkwood, the winner. Alex Palou was second. Christian Lundgaard was third. Led the second most laps in the race with 26. Felix Rosenquist started fourth, finished fourth. William Power started 13th, finished fifth. Scott McLaughlin started sixth and finished sixth. Colton Herta was on the outside pole, former winner of this race. A home game for him. Started second but finished seventh. Scott Dixon finished eighth. Stingray Robb led 12 laps, then finished ninth, and Kiffin Simpson led 3 laps and finished 10th. Pat O'Rourke was 13th. You look like Rossi, there's a bunch of guys who are in the top 10. Erickson, O'Ward, Armstrong, Rossi finished in positions 12th through 15th. David Lucas started 10th, he finished 17th. Nolan Siegel started 11th, finished 20th. Joseph Newgarden started 15th and finished dead last, 2 laps down. That is crazy to think. 2-time series champion Penske has struggled for sure this season. I mean, it's really, that's an ugly look. No caution, so clean race, just over 100 miles an hour. Kiffin Simpson had the fastest lap of the race. And that is something. There's very detailed event summary, leader. It's sorry. Oh, okay. Wow, that's a nice graphic. Yeah, so they all kind of, Lundgaard went with an alternative, strategy where he went long in the first stint, then did a short second stint, and then ran somewhat longer before he got on his last set of tires. A lot of the other drivers that were around him pitted single-digit laps. Dixon did a similar strategy to Lundgaard. But there was a variety of strategies, Josh. But in the end, probably the fastest car at the racetrack, or one of the fastest cars at the racetrack this weekend, came through with a win on a significant milestone weekend at Long Beach. It's basically the biggest race outside of the Indianapolis 500 for this series. So to win the Long Beach Grand Prix has always had great meaning. But for Kyle Kirkwood and the way he started this season, it has additional meaning because now he's emphasizing his claim or thought that he can compete with Hello Polo for this championship in 2025.
Yeah, it does give a lot of insight into how this could play out, and Kyle Kirkwood has been fairly good so far this season. The worst he finished so far is 8th this season at Thermal, and he did really good at St. Petersburg, and of course won the Long Beach Grand Prix, dominated, won the pole, and he stops Alex Palou's winning streak to start the season, most importantly. So it's definitely something that, with the way that this could play out, maybe we see Kyle Kirkwood go out and have a challenging season for against Alex Palou. But I would like to see more from this group, though. I mean, we've seen them kind of have good starts to start the year, and then they taper off, towards the middle part of the season, and then they aren't in contention anymore by the end of the year. So that's what I want to see. I want to see more consistency out of this group. But they do have a chance here with how they are able to get good finishes consistently so far to start the year. It looks like out of this group, I mean, I think Kyle Kirkwood, Colton Herta, I think they both have good pace. I don't think Colton Herta has really good luck right now, but I think both of them show that Andretti, at least on IndyCar side, has the ability to turn around. We're still waiting on Marcus Ericsson to put in good results, but it does give insight that they might be a competitor. They've been quiet until now. They've been kind of quiet, but I think Kyle Kirkwood definitely has that ability, especially with the pace that he showed on Sunday at Long Beach, and I think it also adds to his career so far. He's won 3 races, and 2 of those have been the Long Beach Grand Prix, which I think are pretty significant there. So yeah, definitely think he has what it takes to compete with Alex Palou so far this year, and right now in the standings, second to Palou. So with the way all of this is playing out, you definitely want to see them continue to challenge out Alex Palou. You would have thought that with Pato Award, with the way that they're starting their season, that they would have been challenging Palou, but that's not really been the case. They, of course, they did win, they didn't win, but they were second at Thermal. But otherwise, I feel like Pato hasn't had the greatest start to the year. Still in 6th, but could be better, based on what they are aiming themselves for. So yeah, definitely want to see them improve as well. But it looks like so far, I mean, with the strategy and how things are playing out, it looks like Lundgaard has definitely had better pace, and we kind of saw it there with some of the moves he was making, Christian Lundgaard there at Long Beach. So different shakeup so far this year in IndyCar, and at least At least we were wrong about Alex Palou winning for once, and that guy that stopped that was Kyle Kirkwood.
Yeah, and I mean, we look at how the pecking order is. We're always used to Penske being up there, Ganassi with Dixon, and then you would also say McLaren with Pato O'Ward. I mean, Dixon is up there, but he's behind one of their customer teams and his former teammate Felix Rosenqvist, a guy who used to drive the 10 car in the past. Lundgaard is third in points. Rosenqvist is actually within one race, a full race with all the bonus points that come if you qualify on pole, 2 points for that, lead one lap and lead the most laps. Because Kyle Kirkwood maxed out on Sunday. So there's only 4 drivers that are within that through 3 races. Dixon's minus 56 in 5th. So yeah, Palou, Kirkwood's 34 points behind in 2nd. Lundgaard 46 points behind in 3rd. And Rosenqvist minus 54 in 4th. Dixon minus 56. O'Ward 62 and 6th. Herta, McLaughlin, Willpower, Joseph Newgarden tied with Alexander Rossi for 10th in points. Difference is the top 5 that Newgarden has, even with his dead last finish on Sunday. So, and then all these teams that have now they have the charter deal, so it's not I guess it's a different circumstance. You had Jacob. There's wow. Bobby Schwartzman is actually ahead of some of these. Okay. Well. Colton or Connor Daly 7 points behind his teammate because of what Stingray did on Sunday. That's pretty mediocre. And Marcus Armstrong, they picked him for Carnes at Linus Lundqvist. Oh well. Next race for the IndyCar series will be at Baba, as I said, in a few weeks' time, early May, to start a very busy month of May for the IndyCar series and where the meat of their schedule really takes off. They'll race at Barber, then they will run the Indy Grand Prix, then the Indianapolis 500. The weekend starts at the end of May at Detroit, but it was the June 1st is a race. Then the second oval of the season will happen. There will be 3 events in June in the end with Gateway and then Road America back to back. Then there will be couple weeks between that Road America race, then Mid Ohio and doubleheader at Iowa, and then they're gonna run 4 weeks in a row. Wow, that's where it's really, I think, gonna get determined right there. You're gonna have Mid Ohio, 2 races at Iowa, Toronto, and Laguna Seca. That is something. And then they'll race to end the year in the month of August. Get a couple weeks and they'll run Portland and then back-to-back weekends, Milwaukee and Nashville Super Speedway. So 2 ovals to end the year. Okay. So we'll see what's going on with that as we move forward. In NASCAR, this past weekend, it was Kyle Larson. Kind of seems like 2021 all over again. In the Food City 500, Larson led 411 of the race's 500 laps. There were only 3 cautions and only 1 for cause. That was a wreck between Cody Ware and Shane Van Gisbergen. Alex Bowman started on pole but blew up. Led 39 laps, so he was the third lead. There was only 4 people that led the race. Larson destroyed everybody, maxed out. Kyle Larson, Dennis Hamlin trying for 3 in a row, finished second. Keebler Gibbs, Chase Briscoe, Ryan Blaney, who was on an alternative tire strategy trying to make something happen, get a caution. But of course, when a Hendrick car is leading, they never throw a caution. Byron, Chastain, Bell, Allmendinger, and Bald Spot Dillon. There are only 8 cars on the lead lap, so Hocevar was better than 11th for most of the day. So was Justin Haley, his teammate. They finished 11th and 13th. Josh Berry was 12th. Kyle Busch, who's won at Bristol, I think 800 times, finished 14th. William Clyde Elliott, the last car, 1 lap down. Joey Logano had a nightmare weekend. I think he wrecked in practice or qualifying, started tailback, finished 24th. The 2311 guys were a couple laps down. They were trying to stay out with Blaney to try and get that caution. Eric Jones hit the wall about, I don't know, I think he hit the wall for 100 times or something. They never threw yellow. Jesse Love made his Cup debut, started 19th, ended up 31st. There was, some other guys, whatever. So, Larson destroyed the field. This car, we've gone through it for a while, Josh, about how this car doesn't race well on short tracks. It doesn't race well on road courses. And it's yet another example of it not racing well on a short track, unless you're a Larson fan, and it was a great track. It was great on this racetrack. They had tire problems on Saturday, and then miraculously on Sunday, the tires lasted. They didn't wear in a way to go and actually lay down rubber. The rubber was more dust, and that in turn meant that the grooves weren't really being formed. There was passing or action away from the front, but it was definitely hard to pass. And, we'll probably see a little different race, we'd hope, in September, but Larson did basically the same thing in September. So, I watched the last 100 or so laps of the race, that strategy and whatever, but I don't think there was much doubt who the hell was going to win that race on Sunday.
Yeah, I think part of this is the fact that Larson, he dominated the race, but honestly, really anybody could have dominated that race when you think about it. They just happen to be the ones that hit on the setup, and really it's the issue of the tires, right? But the tires are really what the problem is, and nobody could really pass there anyways, and there wasn't enough fall off. Yeah, everybody thought it was going to be a repeat of last year, because practice, everybody was seeing the tire chunks on the ground and seeing the tires cording, and we thought we'd see exactly like last year, but then air temperature ends up being 10 degrees warmer, and that just completely changes the track temperature there. So it definitely switched everything up, and then they tiptoed for the first 30 laps or so of the race. It looked like we don't know what's going to happen, and then all of a sudden, they realized, and Larson was the first one to realize, it's not going to be a tire conservation race. Let's go ahead and race hard. And that's exactly what he did. And I'll say, for me, I'd rather see them drive hard and everything, rather than tiptoe around. Last year's race was kind of an anomaly. And I remember when people complained about tires cording and stuff, right? And it definitely seems like to me. Only being able to last 40 laps on tires is pretty bad there. So I don't know if I'd really wanted to see a repeat of what happened last year, but we should still see the track taking rubber to a degree where you see a lot of tire wear. And I think Goodyear, it's hard for them to be able to produce a tire when a lot of the problems are with the car. And I think you've seen this tire be used elsewhere, and it's still be fairly wears fairly good. But we've seen enough evidence that nothing has worked so far with this car other than the tires. We've seen a little bit at Martinsville, but nowhere really else other than doing the option tire stuff that they do. So from that end point, with the way that the cars are, the horsepower, the downforce, the brakes being pretty big, there's not really a lot that you can change here unless we start modifying things to the actual design of this car. So from that aspect, it's going to be the same unless unless the temperature changes. And I think it's pretty ridiculous that in order to have something different, you have to like hope that it gets cold. To me, like that's kind of weird to have to hope for that. And then on the other end, of course, could have been anybody. Like Denny dominated at Martinsville and everything, and Bristol. Could have been Denny that dominated, but Larson just had a better car, and he was the first one to figure it all out. So that being said, there were some interesting parts with the tires and the tire strategy and all that. At least we saw this race go green to the end. So at least we didn't have any shenanigans with green white checkers or anything like that to kind of screw up the natural finish there. And of course, Blaney, of course, had at one point the entire field lapped on a pit cycle, which I thought that was interesting. It's like, oh, what if a crash happens now? The whole field has to get a lucky dog, or we'll wave around and one guy get a lucky dog there. So, yeah, I don't know if it's really 2021 again with Larson. We've seen him win 2 times now, but he hasn't really been up front that much so far this year. I think it's more of really just the car as it is. I think people have figured it out now. I don't know if we're really going to see the parity and the volatility that we saw 2 to 3 years ago when teams were still learning about this car and about how it races. I think now everybody's figured it out, and now you're kind of going to see a lot of the same characters at the top winning races and dominating, unless something stupid happens like last week at Darlington, or any super speedway or road course race, anything like that.
Yeah, the limitations of the car and what we're getting out of it, plus the fact, like what you mentioned about them figuring it out, we're seeing, and to be completely honest, it's not like Hendrick and Gibbs weren't going to be up there anyway, but they're the 2 biggest teams in the sport, 2 of the probably 3 or 4 big ones, and them dominating, being up front is no shock. So it's been that way for many years now. So why would it change all of a sudden in 2025? We will go into the point standings. The points heading into the off week. Christopher Bell has the playoff point lead. Kyle Larson's 2 points behind that. Denny Hamlin is a further 2 points behind that. They're all very close together points-wise. William Byron's the overall points leader at the moment by 30 over Denny Hamlin, 41 over Bell, 42 over Larson. William Clyde Elliott II is 5th, Blaney 6th, Tyler Reddick 7th, Bubba Wallace 8th. those drivers are all within 100 points. Joey Logano 101 points back in ninth. Alex Bowman with the brutal finish lost a ton of ground. Now is 102 points back in 10th. The Buescher, Chastain, Briscoe. Briscoe's plus 15 over the cut line. Priest is plus 3, and Kyle Busch is plus 2. After the top 10 finish for Allmendinger, he's only 2 points out of the cut. Richard had a good practice and qualifying, but then fell off. McDowell is up there. Stenhouse 24 points out. McDowell 26 points out, and then Keebler Gibbs is 29 points out. Moving into the off week at and then Talladega Super Speedway. The Xfinity Series Apps 300 at Bristol on Saturday saw Kyle Larson do a similar thing, led 277 of the race's 300 laps. There were only 5 cautions in this race, and 3 of them were for cause. Really, 2 of them were for cause. There was a wreck on lap 77 between Sheldon Creed and Brennan Poole. Sheldon Creed spun out, and then Brennan Poole sideswiped him and destroyed his car. Then there was a wreck on lap 213, which involved William Sawalich and Mason Massey. So a bad day for Alpha Prime for sure. I mentioned Larson won, led all those laps. Carson Kvapil finished second. Justin Allgaier third. Sammy Smith fourth. Buckshot Jones, after winning at Darlington, finished fifth. Jesse Love sixth. Ryan Sieg, Corey Heim, Christian Eckes, and Dean Thompson, the top 10. Sam Mayer won stage 1. Larson won stage 2, and then the race. Connor Zilich, another great qualifying run. Finished 12th, though. Started second, finished 12th. Nick Sanchez had stage points in stage 1. Finished a lap down in 16th. Sawalich had stage points in stage 2, but I mentioned he got wrecked. So, Larson and Hendrick, if you extend it, of course, to JRM, all 4 of their cars were inside the top 12, 3 in the top 5, and then you consider, Buckshot Jones, and then Sam Mayer for the Haas team. The same usual suspects really up there. Bonsignor was 2 laps down in 17th. Parker Retzloff actually qualified in the top 10. Huh? So the only Alpha Prime car that didn't get destroyed. Larson said on Happy Hours that he wants to destroy Xfinity fields to teach these young guys a lesson, and he succeeded on Saturday. He succeeded on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, he succeeded on Saturday, and I think a good part of that was, if you saw what he said on Kevin Harvick's show, he was talking about wanting to whoop on them to kind of show these guys how much they still need to learn to be in the Cup Series, and I think he has a good point. It kind of comes off kind of bad, but I think there's a kind of a good point being made there that these guys, these young guys, they still have a lot to learn, and they need, in terms of success, every now and then, I guess you kind of need a Cup guy to go in there and really show them like what this is supposed to look like, so that they can get better and all that stuff. Which I mean, yeah, it kind of looks bad, but I agree kind of in that sense. Then you kind of think of it, with the respect aspect. We talked a lot about this, the respect for the drivers, for the younger drivers coming up, whether in the truck series or in the Xfinity series. Just trying to see all these guys like learn and drive the way that they should be driving in Cup Series. I definitely think with Cup drivers in the field in general, that's something we kind of lacked since the limits were put on Cup Series drivers back, like in 2018 when they were limited to like only 5 to 6 races, right? That's definitely been a part of it there. So I can see his point from there. And I mean, I think, if you're NASCAR and you kind of agree with this, then, maybe you can have like a rotation where, you have a certain set of drivers compete and do their 5 to 6 races. And then you have another set of drivers that we don't have what we had, in the 2000s where drivers were, bushwhacking and, you had Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, Carl Edwards win all the races, and all the guys in the regular rides barely won anything or had anything to compete for. So you don't have the same guys all dominating throughout the entire season, and there's still the chance, in my opinion, that those guys don't win. I mean, Kyle Larson went and dominated Homestead, but he didn't win Homestead and everything. So, and I do think on the other hand, it does show the level of domination that he has versus a former Cup guy like Eric Almirola going out there and barely winning in the trucks or in the Xfinity series like he did at Phoenix. So that's one aspect of it there to kind of think about just in terms of the respect aspect, which we've talked a lot about how a lot of these young guys really need to do it, and we saw it in Xfinity, Martinsville, and saw that in truck series at various points over the last couple of years. So that's one angle to consider. But as far as the actual race, I mean, obviously Larson dominated here, pretty thoroughly, and then the rest of the guys, pretty good day for GR Motorsports. Connor Zilich, the only guy that didn't get a top 10, which I think he was involved in an accident and got rear-ended. So I think he was also probably headed for a top 10 or a top 5 until that happened. So the only guy there to not get anything. Otherwise, at least Sammy Smith, I guess, surprisingly got a top 5 finish. So that was a little bit surprising to read about there. But I mean, nothing really much happened in this one. I mean, the only thing of significance there is Sheldon Creed with the big accident with Brennan Poole, of course. Kind of reminiscent. I mean, we've seen those types of crashes before where a car, kind of lays out in the track and then they get T-boned or somebody else, gets clipped by them as they're coming down the track, and kind of, reminds us of that old school wrecks that we've seen where, especially at Bristol, where stuff like that would happen. But I thought it was pretty iconic that Sheldon Creed got out of the car and I think it looked like he was dumbfounded and looking at assessing the damage and looking at all the foam that had come out onto the track and caused that red flag there. So which was about almost 15 minutes there. So it was definitely a pretty significant crash there. But and then again, that was the only real stuff or real action that happened on track. I mean, the other thing I saw, Kyle Larson bumping Allgaier for lead off of a restart, which was pretty interesting. But at least in Xfinity, doesn't really take a lot to move a guy out of the way. Unlike in Cup Series, where you basically got to drive through them. So, that's pretty interesting there. And 2 out of 3 ain't bad, I guess, for Larson there.
Okay, all right. So at least you came back there. I don't know. It might have been on my end, probably. Things were spazzing out, but Larson getting a win, whatever. Does nothing for most people here in the Xfinity series. That's not what I wanted to do. The points heading into Rockingham this coming weekend. Hank Hill leads the playoff point standings by 1 over Allgaier. Allgaier leads the actual points by 83 over Sam Mayer, 109. So, I mean, he's over 100 points at everyone except Sam Mayer. 10th place with Sammy Smith, 154 points behind. So that is something. I mean, the battle from basically from third on back is, I mean, Jesse Love and Austin Hill are kind of in their own little realm. Connor Zilich is 5th in points. Wow. Considering the bad luck he's had and the terrible like pit stops and other crap, that the speeding penalties and all that. This is his first, and let's get something straight here. This is his first full year driving a NASCAR vehicle. He's coming out of driving sports cars and other various vehicles like Mazda MX-5s for Shea Holbrook's team and whatever. This is his first full year in a stock car, and he's in the top 5 in points. So even if Trackhouse is starting to suck, at least they signed the one guy that could probably. Carson Quapple 3 points behind his teammate there. Buckshot Jones has a win. That's a good little combo. From 5th on through 10th is very close. It's only 19 points. Jones, Creed, Sieg, Smith. Daniel Dye is +5 over the cut. Harrison Burton's 2 points out of his cousin Jeb. Christian Eckes -5, Nick Sanchez -7, Taylor Gray -20 to the cut. So actually a really intriguing battle there for that cutoff. Dean Thompson inserting himself into the mix too, actually. He's only 5 points behind Taylor Gray. You got, Retzlaw, you have Sawalich there. After that, really, nobody there. Okay. All right, so move to the trucks. Larson trying to get the clean sweep. Weather guard truck race. He didn't lead a lap in this race, actually, but he was up there late. But Chandler Smith, who won stage 1, finished 2nd in stage 2 to Bailey Curry, led 127 of the race's 250 laps and took the victory. Raja Karuth led the 2nd most laps, but ended up 9th. There was only 5 leaders of the race, so at least there was a consistency across the whole entire weekend of lack of leaders and lead changes. Chandler Smith gets his first Truck Series victory in a few years, 6th career win. Larson, Heim, Ankrum, Ben Rhodes, your top 5. Lane Riggs, Chandler Smith's teammate, finished 6th. Jake Garcia, another top 10 finish for him. Caden Honeycutt, 8th. Caruth, and then Gio Ruggiero, rounding out your top 10. There were 19 trucks on the lead lap, including Hemrick coming off of his first win. Corey Day, who finished 15th. Matt Crafton, wow, he started 27th and actually came back into the top 20 there. Curry had suspension issues after winning the 2nd stage, finished 23rd. There was a few people that kind of parked early in the race, including there was an accident for Ty Majeski and it involved Buckshot Jones, Frankie Muniz, and Subal. So Yeah, Chandler Smith, just like what Larson did in the other two races, was pretty dominant. Raja Karuth led 85 laps in this race. In the middle, basically, there was a period of time where he led. In between Chandler Smith leading, he led early. Chandler Smith and then led the last 14 laps of the race. So for Chandler Smith, gets the win, locks himself into the playoff, becomes the third regular to win this year. And, you know, obviously having a hedge coming back to the Truck Series. So for Chandler Smith, at least early on, it looks like a good gamble because he has a chance to compete for a championship again with one of the better teams in the series in Front Row Motorsports.
Yeah, he dominated in this one, and yeah, not a lot here other to say, although he did get served with some documents, so different high to low there. But yeah, Chandler dominated this race for sure, and yeah, gets his first win in a few years, like you said. And yeah, Larson on the quest for the sweep, finished second, which, you know, saw a little bit of that and looked like he was struggling, but I guess he got back up there into second, although, yeah, Raja and the other HendrickCars.com truck led a good ton of laps there. But let's see what else in this race happened. I mean, there was, yeah, big incident there early on with Brandon Jones and Frankie Muniz, and Stuart Friesen there, and Ty Majeski. So that was obviously not good for those guys. Yeah, Andreas Perez had an accident as well, so not a good day for the rookie there. Everything. Yeah, Corey Heim top 3 as well there. So points leader continues to get valuable finishes there. But yeah, Chandler Smith, and I guess trying to rebuild his career, is definitely going to need the win there. You know, to make, obviously he's going to make the playoffs. So I guess now going into you know, this season gives him an opportunity definitely to get back into championship form here. You know, we've seen him be, you know, possible contender in the past, back in 2022. In 2021 had opportunities, but definitely now he has a chance in a better ride, I think, than what he was before. Definitely has a chance to in a different looking series to go out and go for a title now. So yeah, he's ranked third in the standings so far. So, and he hasn't finished outside the top 10 yet. So there's definitely you know, an opportunity there with all that consistency. So, you know, we'll see how this race or how his season ends up playing out.
Yeah, that's something we'll see. I mean, Chandler Smith over the years has had chances, especially in the Truck Series when he drove for Kyle Busch, to compete for championships, but he's been usurped by the likes of Corey Heim in his own team and others, or when it's come down to it. So can he close the deal here? To be determined. Points heading into Rockingham. Chandler Smith is 18 points behind Corey Heim. Corey Heim leads the playoff point standings by 8. Ty Majeski is third, minus 57. Tyler Ankrum fourth, minus 60. Daniel Hemrick has a win. He's minus 65. Then Lane Riggs, minus 84. Grant Enfinger, minus 88. Stuart Friesen, minus 93. Ben Rose, minus 96. And Jake Garcia, minus 98. So Jake Garcia Ben Rhodes, Stuart Friesen, 5, 7, 10 points above the cut. Caden Honeycutt, first person below the cut, -5. And then bigger gaps, Tanner Gray -24, Giro -26. Rajak Ruth -46. But an opportunity at Rockingham to possibly win and get himself in to the playoff. There's a bit of news that came out today that there's a possibility that GMS, the Gallagher family, might be coming back to race in the Truck Series with Dodge. So that's, I was curious as to who would go and get that contract or get that opportunity. And in the end, it would be somebody that's an old team coming back. So we'll see how that all pans out. The Formula One series was at Bahrain last weekend, and Oscar Piastri dominated. He qualified on pole, basically led from lights to flag, won by 15.5 seconds over Woody Russell. The battle between first, second through fourth was actually very close. Russell Norris was third. Charles Leclerc was fourth. Lewis Hamilton came out fifth. Fishlips was sixth. Pierre Gasly was seventh. Esteban Ocon eighth. Yuki Tsunoda in the second Red Bull was ninth. And Ollie Bierman rounded out the top 10 for Haas. Kimi Antonelli unlucky to fall just outside the points along with Alex Albon. There was a pack from 8th on through 12th that were separated by 4.5 seconds there. But Piastri was really fast. And, he went out there. One thing that has been a weakness over his early career is qualifying. And I think I'm not the only one who's believed it, but I know there's a lot of people who believe that if Piastri could figure out qualifying, he'd be really tough to beat. And I think that has happened this year. And Josh, I think that's a problem for everyone. I will say I did pick him to win the World Championship, so I don't usually get these prognostications right, but I like that one for many reasons. He's a better driver than Lando Norris and better head on his shoulders. I think he can handle battling fish lips. It's about McLaren winning the Constructors, and I don't think they're going to have a problem doing that with this car. Curiosity is what's going to happen points-wise once, say, Ferrari maybe figures it out or Fish Lips is able to put some things together. That's where the curiosity lies. But for this week, in the second of a 3-week run there, Oscar Piastri stands tall.
Indeed, he does. And you mentioned the championship there. That's looking like it could be a good pick. Lando leads by 3 points right now, but you do make the point that Piastri seems like he's the better driver, and I kind of agree with that right there, because the end battle between Lando and George Russell there, I know there wasn't really much of an opportunity there. So for Lando, I think he only had 1 or 2 shots there at the end where he could have tried to overtake George Russell there. The last lap going into the final turn, he had DRS to try and do something, and he didn't really do anything. I think he tried to just hold his line there and try to overtake on the outside and didn't really make. Which to be fair, I mean it. You don't want to junk your car there at that point, but um, he didn't really seem like he had that instinct to try to make, especially at that point, make George Russell fall into a mistake to open up second place there. Because, yeah, they did 1-3 with George Russell sandwich there. But at the same time, like, I'm sure McLaren probably would have loved to have a 1-2 finish there and everything. So that's, one of the things that it's like, well, and we've already seen it a couple of times with Lando, like, doesn't like when it comes to battling, he doesn't really have like that instinct that other drivers have, that Max has, that Lewis has, that you've seen other veteran drivers like Ricardo, Sebastian Vettel, Kimi, I mean Fernando Alonso when he was in a good car and in his prime. So Lando, I don't know if he really has that. I mean, he can win, right? But I think it takes him having a bigger advantage, like on tires, like how we saw him win his first race last year in Miami. I think that was more of on a tire advantage than anything. But we're just having an outright better car. But we've seen enough to where I think we can say that I think Piastri's the better driver, and even though right now he's not leading the points, I think he will be very soon, based on how this is playing out. So we'll see how it goes, but I definitely think that's not a bad pick there to go out and win the championships. So it's definitely, I mean, constructors is locked up, and I definitely think, like, I agree with you there on that. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, Verstappen, I mean, out to lunch today. I mean, I think this is where we see the differences now with Red Bull last year versus this year. They're definitely, they didn't get better. Driver change put off to the side. Overall, they just don't have the pace like they did in years past. And you can see even Verstappen himself. I mean, pit stops weren't really that good too. So, and you saw, if you're watching that, and you saw Verstappen get frustrated in the pits, just shaking his head during a delay there on their pit stop. And that's with points being so valuable, and the finishes what what they need to be to stay in this, they definitely need mistakes there on pit roads. So definitely kind of seeing maybe the end of the Red Bull dominance here, which now we're seeing McLaren dominate so far in this season. So it's definitely a change there. So yeah, I mean, I think this is probably Piastri's year to win it overall. I mean, otherwise, there's, I guess, some interesting stuff there. Carlos Sainz got into it with Yuki there, so yeah, it was unfortunate for him because I think he was, he started in 8th. I think he was on track for probably a finish in the points. So, unfortunate there. I think also we gotta give credit to Ollie Bierman starting in the back in 20th place and making it into the points in 10th place. Definitely a good showing there for the rookie there in the Haas, which both Haas cars finishing in top 10 there, 8th and 10th. So good job there for Esteban and Oliver Behrman. So otherwise, this not too much otherwise take away from the this race. So just think we're kind of seeing how this season's going to play out, and it's just a matter of playing, letting these races play out as they will.
Yeah, and I think one of the only things that might change Ferrari pace, Lewis getting more comfortable in the Ferrari team and with the car. Leclerc on one lap is as good as anybody in this series, so there's possibilities for them. I do agree that Red Bull is probably on the back foot. There were rumors about him wanting to leave, but then those were followed up with rumors that George Russell it looks like, lining up to sign an extension. So would Toto Wolff put Fish Lips and George Russell together and take Kimi Antonelli out? I don't know if that really makes a lot of sense. I don't know. I mean, that sounds like something Red Bull would do versus, Mercedes, but who knows? I think Aston Martin is the option that he wants to do, and you have to look at Yuki Tsunoda as well. That's another option, but then that involves Lawrence Stroll telling his son to eat it, which, to be fair, Fernando Alonso has not scored a point so far this year, and Lance actually has. They're not good, but every team has scored points. It's just a case of where they are in point. But Norris, as we mentioned, both of us, or Josh definitely with the points lead, 3 over Oscar Piastri, 8 over Verstappen, and 14 over George Russell. And that's the battle, really, for the World Drivers' Championship, because there's a huge gap after that to Charles Leclerc, Antonelli, Hamilton. They're separated. Those three are separated by 7 points. Albon, 8th, Ocon, 9th, Lance Stroll in 10th. And the constructors, McLaren Mercedes, 58 points up. Yeah, so you think about they're already a race, and if you got first and second, they're plus, with the fastest lap or whatever. So they're up by that, over a race already. Mercedes is 22 points out of Red Bull. Ferrari is 14 points behind Red Bull. And that's the battle on the constructors' side. Really, it's McLaren in their own world. Then you have kind of like tiers between that second group. Mercedes, Red Bull, and Ferrari. Haas right now is 5th, 1 point ahead of Williams, and 10 points ahead of Aston Martin. The Toro Rosso team is in 8th with 7 points. Alpine and Sauber are tied with 6 points to round up the back end of the points. They'll be at Saudi this weekend. Saudi Arabian Grand Prix there. Go quickly in terms of racing Assetto Corsa Competizione, which is a GT3 sim, and based on the World Challenge, GT World Challenge. And so there's a lot of cars that from a few years ago this game is, but racing it at Apex 1, there was an endurance race we did on Assetto Corsa regular at Watkins Glen. That was relatively competitive. Now we're running Catalunya circuit, which was the old Mickey Mouse version with the stupid double apex left-hander, and then a bus stop chicane instead of the double apex right, the fast 2 right-hand sweeps there, leading onto the main straightaway. So I'm an AM in that race. I'm racing with Nunzio's one of the guys that works at the place, and Braces. He does 24 hours of lemons with a 944. I'm definitely not the favorite in the AM category. There's a few guys that I raced with in the Sim League that are definitely faster than me. And then there's at least 3 people I looked at just based on, I don't know if they would have put their sim name on there. I could have identified some of them. I've identified at least 3 people that I know that I'm slower than, and maybe 4 depending, but really there's 3. So it's a case of, if I don't know what our strategy is going to be, there's a mandatory pit stop, but you just literally have to stop and basically swap drivers, and that's it. You don't even have to put gas, don't have to put tires, but we'll see what happens. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to the opportunity to do another enduro. The last one was very fun. Something that was an enduro and took years off my life was Rory McIlroy on his 11th try winning the career Grand Slam 14 years after blowing a 4-shot lead in the final round of the Masters. 1-shot lead going to the second 9, duck hooking it in the woods on 10, and proceeding to implode and shoot an 80. This day he ended up shooting 73 in regulation, and how he got to 73 is something in its own right. One of the most insane rounds of golf that I've ever seen. McIlroy had the lead had a 2-shot lead, doubled the first, then parred the second while DeChambeau birdied. Then that switched over where DeChambeau bogeyed 3 and McIlroy birdied, so he retook the lead. Then another birdie on 4, the par 3, and DeChambeau another bogey led to a 3-shot lead for McIlroy, and that sustained all the way to the 9th, where he birdied that hole, and he was then up 4. Birdied 10, so he birdied 9 and 10, got up to a 5-shot lead at that point. Then the interesting stuff started happening. Bogey's 11, almost puts it in the water on the approach. Somehow or another, the ball holds up, similar to what Fred Couples did in 92 on the 12th. 6, at that point, he had a 4-shot lead on Ludwig Aubert, who had inserted himself in the mix, trying to win the Masters in his second try after being a runner-up the year before in his maiden voyage around the Masters as a professional. Par 12. Then the stupidity started. Absolutely effed up on a wedge shot on 13, put a ball on a Rays Creek after having a great drive and laying up. Doubled 13, bogeyed 14, and at that point he had lost what was a 5-shot lead, and it had become a 1-shot lead. Once he got to 15, he somehow or another hooked a shot around the trees. Got it within, pretty close range. Made that birdie. He had fallen into a tie for the lead going into the 15th hole with Justin Rose and Aubert. He birdied 15. It should have been an eagle. 16, he had a chance for birdie, but he gave up on that shot. on the putt. Rose had tied him at 11 under. Then McIlroy had one of the best shots ever, his second shot on 17, to basically kick in range while Justin Rose had bogeyed. So at that point, McIlroy had a 2-shot lead going on 18, 2 shots in the fairway, a decent wedge, and we're talking about Rory's a Masters champion. He drives the ball well. Well, 1 shot, a decent wedge, a drive, a decent wedge, 2 putts, and he wins the Masters. He gets the drive right. He hits a god-awful wedge right into the right bunker, then proceeds to make a mess on the green and bogey the 18th in regulation, a 72nd hole, and then have to fall into a playoff with Rose. I mentioned O'Bear. He was at 10 under par at 16, then bogeyed 17 and tripled 18 to drop all the way back to 6 under par. Justin Rose had 10 birdies in his round and shot 66, so it tells you he did have bogeys. He only had 1 par on the back 9 on his last 9 on Sunday, so it was just crazy how that all transpired. But McIlroy was able to have redemption. His best friend and caddy, good mate, Harry Diamond, said we would have given whatever to be in this position on Monday. And somehow or another, that reset Rory McIlroy. He went out there, hit a similar drive to a similar spot. This time he was able to hit the wedge inside of Justin Rose. Justin Rose misread his putt for birdie on the 18th hole there in the first hole of the playoff. McIlroy was, I think, about 3-4 feet. He makes that putt, and then the waterworks start for everybody, including my mom and I. So it was definitely an amazing event, amazing moment to watch for the first time in 25 years someone in golf win the career Grand Slam. And also for Rory McIlroy to finally win the Masters is huge in the world of golf. So it's my favorite golf tournament. One of the only things I shared with my dad. Love of golf and love of the Masters, and started with Tiger in '97, just like with so many other people. So 2019 was I was a mess. I had a hangover too from Richmond the night before. Drove all the way back. Passed out in my recliner, but was able to see it live in the end when Tiger won. But this was quite a roller coaster, and just glad for Rory McIlroy. It's great for the game of golf, and he will defend his title with his good buddy Shane Lowry in the doubles event in New Orleans. And then the next major is a PGA Championship at Quail Hollow, where Rory McIlroy has won more than anybody. So we'll see what happens with that. So we'll talk about the draft next week, because it'll be closer because the draft itself will be, I think, next Thursday itself, right? So yeah, it'll be more relevant at that point. So we will move to the roundup. F2 and F3 were at Bahrain in Formula 2. The results from the races. The sprint race win went to Pepe Marti. Pepe Marti, Richard Vashor, Daniel Boganovic, Gotha, Lindblad, your top 5, Villa Gomez, Mini, Fornaroli, Ryomo Miata, and Luke Browning, your top 10. Jack Crawford was 12th. Kushmini 16th. Then trying to see who else, but then in the feature race, Dunn was the winner. Alexander Dunn for Roden. Motorsports, Luke Browning, Luca Fornaroli, your podium. Pepe Marti, Victor Martins, round out your top 5. Vashor, Boganovic, Lindblad, Mini, Dirksen, your top 10. Miato's 14th. Jack Crawford 16th. Kushmini 18th. So really bad stuff going on for the Dams team. Seb Montoya was 19th. Standings moving into Jeddah. Luca Fornaroli is a point ahead of Dunn, who's got off the Schneid points-wise with a feature race win. Luke Browning, with his second place finish in fastest lap, moved from 6 points all the way to 25, and he's now a point behind. Pepe Marti, with a strong weekend at Sakir, puts himself into the mix. He's only 3 points back, and Richard Vashor is only 5 points back in 5th. So that's the early battle. And then after that, there's a lot of drivers that are within at least 9 points. How is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 drivers haven't scored a point yet. Miata, Jack Crawford, Kushmini, Max Easterson, all of those are drivers that we've looked at that haven't scored. So in Formula 3, the winners of the races there, the sprint race, Nicholas Soloff, Slater, Tappinen, your podium, Voisin, Stenshore, Tramnitz, Giusti, Ho, Verts, and Stromstead. Your top 10, no Leon, Camara, Lawrence Van Hoopener, Interpruvzak, Luca Bador's kid there. And then in the feature, Kamara, Voisin, Tramnitz, your podium, Tappinen, Soloff, Stromstead, Giusti, Boya, Delpino, and Ho, your top 10. Standings moving to Imola here in a month's time. Kamara has 2 feature race wins to start the year, and he has a 26-point lead over Tim Tramnitz. Voisin 3 points behind Tramnitz, tied with Stromstead. Basically, after Kamara, there's actually a good battle. 10 points separating second through 7th. 11 points if you had Nile between second and 8th. Kilometrin, Interpruzak up there. So we'll go into F1 Academy. They raced at Shanghai for their first race of the year. Palmowski and Dorian Pan were the winners of the 2 races they had there. They were supposed to have 3, but I think there was weather issues. The standings, or no, there is 2 races. Okay. So Dorian Pan has a 5-point lead on Woog. Corey Chambers, or Chloe Chambers, Chloe Chambers, Palmowski, Larson, your top 5. Leah Block, 9th. Courtney Crone hasn't scored. Yeah, so we'll see what happens at Jeddah. They'll be back after that at Miami. So short turnaround, couple of weeks for them in the F1 Academy. We'll move to IMSA ran at Long Beach and saw the results. The Porsche Penske team continues their dominance in terms of the victories. They have swept every race so far this year, and that's it won't allow me to see the full results, so that's lovely. So I'll try that again. IMSA Long Beach results. So yeah, Felipe Nasr, Nick Tandy, the winner by just over 3 seconds over their teammate. Matt Campbell, Matthew Jaminet. So Porsche won 2. BMW qualified on pole again, but finished 3rd. Then Earl Bamba and Jack Aiken, the Wheelan Engineering Cadillac. The other BMW 25, Vanderlinde Whitman, to round out your top 5. The AO Racing Porsche with Johnny Edgar and Lawrence Vanthor were the winners in GTD over the Lexus Vassar Sullivan duo. Parker Thompson, Jack Hawksworth, who competes in GTD regularly, and then Frankie Manicalvo and Thielitz, who do not compete in this category regularly, same as AO Racing, going in there getting points. So Robert Wickens, Tommy Milner, they had issues with the car, with the brakes, and ended up rounding out they were next to last, 5 laps down, but they ran better than that across the weekend. Wickens actually led one of the sessions, practice sessions earlier in the weekend. So get the Indy next. So that's Hauger. So yeah, they ran St. Pete, and then they don't run again until Baba. So there you go. So I thought IMSA Long Beach. Okay. MotoGP at Qatar. Mark Marquez ran into his brother. So what a shocker. And at Qatar, the Marquez wins over Bagnaia, Morbidelli, Zarco, Aldeguer. Then Marquez was 6th, Fabio Quartararo 7th, Pedro Acosta, Bezzecchi, and then Luca Marini rounding out your top 10. Defending world champion Jorge Martin in his return, first race as with the number 1 plate, crashes and then gets run over. Fabio Di Giannantonio suffered even more injuries, might end up being out 3 months at least with those injuries. So unfortunate for the Martinator. The standings heading into the next round, Marc Marquez has a 17-point lead over his brother. Pecco Bagnaia is minus 26 behind his teammate. Franco Morbidelli is 4th, minus 45. Fabio Di Giannantonio way back, minus 75. Zarco, Bezzecchi, Quartararo, Agura, and Luca Marini rounding out your top 10. Pedro Acosta, last one, it's above 100 points behind there. In the in Moto 2, the winner was Aaron Canet. Gonzalez was 3rd. Morera. Joe Roberts actually scored a point, so that's positive. The points standings in Moto 2 see Aaron Canet with a 10-point lead over Gonzalez. Jake Dixon is 3rd. Ramirez, Marcos, I always say Manny, it's Marcos. 5th for the American Racing Team. Joe Roberts right now is 25th in points with 1 point so far in 2025. So a brutal start to the year for him. The supercars, Taupo Super Sprint. Pain the real deal. So in the race, Matthew Payne took 2 out of 3 races. Ford getting all 3 wins so far this year, or in that weekend. There's been, 6 different winners in 2025 so far. Cam Waters, Matthew Payne, 3 and 2 apiece, and then 4 other drivers that won 1 race. The 2 Red Bull Ampol Racing drivers, defending champion Will Brown, and then Brock Feeney, his teammate. Chaz Mostert, as mentioned earlier, and then Cameron Young rounding out your top drivers that have all won. The driver standings, Will Brown leads the points by 34 over Cam Waters, and then 46 Matt Payne. Brock Feeney's 4th, 61 points above, or 61 points back. Chaz Mostert 5th. Brody Kostecki in 6th. Cameron Hill 7th. We have that's where we're at there. Freaking Will Davison married to one of the pit road ladies, so credit to him. Good job. Go to Formula E in Miami. There was controversy because of the late safety car that cost drivers who didn't use up all their energy or whatever, the power booster, got time penalties. Pascal Wehrlein, defending world champion, ended up inheriting the victory. Luca de Grassi was second. Antonio Felix da Costa was third. Nico Muller, Eduardo Mortara, Dan Ticktum, Frines, and Jake Dennis. Oliver Rowland rounding out your top 10. Their next race will be Monaco doubleheader. The current point standings see Oliver Rowland coming off of 2 wins and a second, had a 10th place. Now is a 15-point lead on Antonio Felix da Costa. 18 points on Pascal Wehrlein, the Tag Heuer Porsche team. Very ready. Taylor Barnard is tied for third, and Neo McLaren. Then after that, Max Gunther, Hughes, Dennis, Jake Dennis, Eduardo Mortara, Jean-Eric Verne, and Mitch Evans, rounding out your top 10. The World Superbikes. Go. That's not. World Superbikes was the results of the race weekend. Nicolo, so 3 different winners. Nicolo Balega, 1 race won. The Super Pole race was won by Toprak Raskatlioku, and then Andrea Locatelli won race 2. You look at the points, Raskatlioku's 21 behind Balega, 29 over Andrea Locatelli. Right now, so I'm trying to look for. I don't see. Oh, there you go. Garrett Kurloff is 17th in points. So that's an unfortunate start to the year for him. The calendar after Dutch Grand Prix will be a few weeks off, and then they'll race at Cremona Circuit in Italy. So there's that, and then NHRA, that was a big one. I timed somehow or another, was able to time it to where when they were playing, when they played the final of Top Fuel, it was momentous. His first career win. He's won at Las Vegas before in a Top Alcohol Dragster, and won there, I think, in 4 wide in a Top Alcohol Dragster. He gets the win with a 387 at 317 miles an hour. Austin Prock was just behind him, 4009 at 316. Antron Brown was running really, really well and blew up. So it wasn't for a lack of effort there. The 4 wide, you get results. Tony Studio, so the current points heading into next follow the Charlotte 4 wide. Sean Langdon has a 16-point lead on Tony Stewart and a 20-point lead on Antron Brown. So that's second and third. Doug Coletta minus 46, Jasmine Salinas minus 61, Brittany Force minus 88. Then in funny car, Austin Prock gets the victory and cuts his deficit down to 21. Paulie still leads the points over Jack Beckman, who's minus 16. Proc, then Matt Hagen, who's minus 44. And Chad Green. So then, those are the 5 that are within 100 points. In Pro Stock, Dallas Glenn gets the victory, and then now is only 4 points behind Greg Anderson. Those are only 2 cars that are within 150 points right now. And Pro Stock Motorcycle, I think they've only raced twice so far this year. Gage Herrero, 21 points out of Matt Smith, 45 points out of Angie, 49 over Chase Van Zandt. We'll go from there. WC to Imola. That's championship. We'll be racing at Imola for it'll be 6 hours. They'll race on Sunday afternoon, on Easter Sunday, to see who will come out. So that's the entry list, as usual entry list. There will be 18 prototypes and 18 GT3 cars. They don't have a third driver listed for the Valkyrie Aston Martins, but we'll see. The Porsche Penske team, they got Toyota Gazoo, the Hertz team, Toyota, WRT BMW, Alpine, AF Corsa Ferrari, Peugeot, and then Proton. And you have Auto Racing Aston and GTD. Only American representation there. Probably other ones like Proton Competition. So that's the 6 hours. That's the usual grid there for WEC. Josh, I'm going to throw to you. Need a moment here to start the preview and picks for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Are we looking at another McLaren domination, or does somebody else come out and do something this weekend?
I think all signs kind of point to right now of McLaren continuing their run here. I expect either Oscar Piastri or Lando Norris to go out and win the pole here this weekend to lead during practice. But otherwise, I just can't really see anybody else other than that. I think the real question is, can Max Verstappen get back to form? Can he finish in the point, or on the podium this time? I think that's really of interest here. But right now, it's really hard to see anybody else, winning this besides probably Piastri or Norris. But I think the other factor is, can Ferrari with either Leclerc or with Hamilton, can they make noise in this and potentially, get a surprise podium here with the way things are playing out? Obviously, Mercedes with George Russell doing very well, but I think Norris and Piastri definitely have the hand here to go out and get a win for this team. possibly even a 1-2. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this goes here. I mean, personally, for me, I'll say for me, I pick Piastri to finish first. So I'll write that down. Piastri first, and then I'll say Norris on the podium, and then I'm gonna say that Charles Leclerc finish in third place on the podium here. So get a podium for Ferrari for me, and then I think other people like outside outside of that. I mean, let's talk about Oliver Behrman. Can he continue the momentum here and continue to finish the points? Can Gasly, can Esteban Ocon, can they continue their run with Alpine and with Haas to finish in the points here? Kimi Antonelli, can he match George Russell and finish in the points here? Isaac Hadjar, can he improve? Yuki Tsunoda back in the top 10, last week in Bahrain, can he continue to finish the points and at least slow down the bleeding for Red Bull here? Definitely, I think those are some of the storylines we got to pay attention here this weekend for Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. But yeah, overall, can't really see anything else other than McLaren, winning the weekend.
Yeah, I'm gonna mirror your top two, Piastri and Norris getting a 1-2 finish. So, Piastri, Norris, and then my third will be Fish Lips. Third, think just the type of circuit it is. I think it'll be better for the Red Bull car. I think Yuki Tsunoda is going to get better as the season goes on. He seems to be the first person in a long time that is able to kind of manage that car. They'll have a couple of weeks between Saudi Arabia and then Miami. Then they'll have an additional 2 weeks off before 3 consecutive weekends, which will be Imola, Monaco, and Spain. So it'll be a busy month of May in Formula One coming up. We'll go. Yeah, I did that. The Truck Series, the Black's Tire 200. There'll be so highest finish well done race will receive 50,000 bonus, wins all into. If a driver wins 2 of the 3 events under 50,000, so that's the opportunity for either Daniel Hemrick or Chandler Smith on Friday evening. If one of them can win, their team could end up with $150,000. So that'll be something to look at. Entry list has 35 for 36, so nobody going home. Trying to get through anybody that's Kligerman running for the 75 team, Fenhouse in the 66. That moron is in the 22. I don't know how the hell they put. Well, I can't say that because they already put somebody who is on the spectrum in a car I think in the ARCA series or in the West series. So they'll put an inbred in there. Corey Day is running in the 7 for Spire. Sammy Smith will be in a 0-7 for Spire. And then, Stephen Malazzi will be in the 2 for Rayum Brothers. And then Buckshot Jones will be in the 1 for Tricon. I would like to see Daniel Hemrick get that $150,000, but I'm gonna go and I'll kind of change it up a little bit. I'll go Tyler Ankrum Friday. He's been close to winning this year. It's first time in a while he's kind of looked like that. And at Rockingham, Phil goes with Tyler Ankrum to win, and my wild card choice will be based on the point standings. All the drivers that have driven all the races, 4. So 24 drivers have run every race this year. So that cuts off the top 12. And I'm just going to pick Raja. I was thinking of picking Raja to win, but I'm going to hedge and pick him as my wild card. Because he isn't going to, I keep on saying it, one of these days he's not going to be in that top bottom half of the points there. So he's due for sure. How about you, Josh? What do you think?
Yeah, this is going to be a really interesting race here, given the state of Rockingham, how it's a tire-chewing racetrack that hasn't changed. And it's going to be really hard to pick some of these younger guys here. But I really do like, you pick Ankrum, that's a good pick, but I'm going to pick, I'm just going to go with the guy that's been leading here in the series, Corey Heim. I think, even though, he's a young guy, they really set up their trucks well, and he's done a really good job of, cutting through the field and winning these races. So, yeah, I'm going to go with him, which you're probably going to need a lot of downforce here to make up for the lack of grip as the tires wear out throughout a tire run. So I'm going to pick him. And then my wild card, I will pick, that's interesting. Let's see. Craftsman Truck Series. Yeah, I'm gonna pick Corey Day. I'll just take him as my wild card for this weekend.
Okay. Yeah. Corey Day wild card. So going with a couple of Corys. And then the last race, which will be on Easter Saturday, will be the Xfinity Series race. That is the North Carolina Education Lottery 250 Saturday afternoon. I'm trying to look around to see where the lights are at Rockingham, but I don't see any, so I don't know. But all right, whatever. 40 cars for 38 spots. So 2 will go home. Now you get usual people there. It was Emerling 07. Garrett Smithley 14. Bonsignor 19. Catherine Legg will be making the first of 12 starts combined now between the Xfinity and the Cup Series. Candy Kane making his NASCAR return, driving for RCR and a HendrickCars.com Chevy. Greg Van Alts, yeah, he's a regular there. Vicente Salas in the 45 for Alpha Prime. Yeah, you got Thomas Annunziata in 70. Dawson Cram 74. Austin Green in the 87 there. So, Josh, you get first picks here. Who do you see as your choices for winner and wild card at Rockingham?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with just gonna stick with Justin Allgaier here. I think again a veteran here that's been around for a while. And really knows this. He might be one of the last drivers that actually raced on Rockingham back in the day in the ARCA series. So, back in '08. So, yeah, I think he'd be a good pick for this. And then I'm gonna go a little funny here, and I'm gonna pick Casey Kane in the 33 car to go out as a veteran wild card. That's a very, he hasn't been in a stock car in a long time, and 33 cars. I mean, that's a wild card entry there for Hendrick, which is interesting. A HendrickCars.com and a Richard Childress car. So that's a interesting combo there. But yeah, I'll see how he can do his first race back in since like what 2018. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna go with this week.
You see, now I'm kind of tempted to just go and you picked him as a wild card, and I just go and pick Candy Kane on his Xfinity and his NASCAR return at a track where he's once upon a time
Damn
had his
near
first damn near one in the 9 car for Evernham, which was at that point the last Rockingham race or whatever. Lost to Matt Kenseth. Yeah, why not? We'll go with Candy Cane. The wild card. I will. Darn it. I have to go look at the points for this. The 9 drivers. There, yeah, so that's 22 plus. There's 27. So that's 14. I'll actually go with I'll go with Nick Sanchez. Why not? So those so Candy Cane to win and Nick Sanchez wild card. We'll see how that all works out next week. So Josh, it's your turn to let us know all things going on iRacing and gaming in the sim segment.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, this week on iRacing, we've got well, the 87 cars are at Auto Club Speedway. Xfinity Series are at Rockingham, so that should be interesting there. Of course, they had in the past they've had the 87s at Rockingham, and I think there was a special event where they did like a Rockingham 587s a while ago, and that was a really interesting one there to watch that one play out. The trucks also at Rockingham got the Arca Menard Series at Michigan International Speedway, got the NASCAR since it's off week, NASCAR Class A at Las Vegas. You got the IndyCar Oval Series at Atlanta. You got the IndyCar iRacing Series at Barber this week for the official iRacing Series. Gen 4 cars are at Richmond there. So that's, then 87s, like I said, at Auto Club. Cars Tour at Hickory, Super Late Models at New Hampshire, and then on the sports cars side, you got MX5s at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca, BMW M2s at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. Got the Production Car Sim Challenge at uh, Portland International Raceway. Got the Sports Car Challenge at Road Atlanta, Toyota GR86 at Watkins Glen on the boot circuit, the Stock Car Brazil Series at Okayama Short Course. Got the Rainmaster Challenge at Monza combined circuit. Oh, that's a fun one with the combined Monza oval and road course. Yeah, that's a interesting one there with the old oval on the rain. That's kind of wild there. So that's kind of funny, but got that there. That's the Rainmaster Challenge there. See the Prototype Challenge at Imola. Got that there. The Advanced MX5 Cup at Barber. Got the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge at the Spa Bike Course. So that's interesting there. Got that there. And then in Formula Car Series, got the Formula Vs at Virginia International Raceway. Formula 1600 also at VIR. You got the Lotus 49 at Thruxton Circuit. Got the advanced Formula Fords at Knock Hill Racing Circuit. You've got the Formula Formula C Series running the Dallara F3 at Autodrome Juan Carlos Pace. Got the U.S. Open Wheel Challenge at New Hampshire Motor Speedway Oval, so that's the road series competing on an oval. Got the IndyCar iRacing Series, like I said earlier, competing at Barber. Here, see tags, what's allowed, Class B Series. You've got the IndyCar, so I guess also the standard IndyCar Series here competing on Portland, so there's a lot of variety here on what you can do. Fixed IndyCar Series also at for fixed road racing IndyCar Series at Portland International Raceway there. So that's definitely, those are all good tracks, all good combinations there to play on or race on. This week in iRacing, the week of April 15th. See what else is new they have here. I'm trying to look here, see what else. Oh, special events coming up. The Road America 500, April 25, April 26. So that's going to be using the old IMSA GTP Challenge cars. I'm going to have to look at that. That's I think they're running like the old Nissan. I'd have to look at that again, but they're running the old IMSA cars from 1979 for that one. Let's see, what was the other? There was another one I was looking at coming up. Yeah, Road American 500. Got the official Porsche Tag Heuer Sports E Cup that concluded over this weekend. And I guess the only esports race they've got right now is the NASCAR iRacing College Series, concluding on Tuesday night at Homestead. And then the Coca-Cola iRacing Series is off this week. So with I guess coinciding with the real NASCAR off break there. So got that there. Haven't really seen anything else in terms of the console news, so we'll continue to hear back on that later on. See what they have to say there. As far as me, went go-karting, like I told you offline, went and said at top of the show, went to Orlando Kart Center, ran, best lap was like a minute 8 seconds there. Ran that first two sessions, and then I ran at 1 minute 10 seconds in the last one, but I actually paid for the camera on there, so I'll probably upload that just to get an insight of what it looks like, and upload that on my personal YouTube page. And then brought some friends over, most of them first time racing, but they improved throughout, and told them what you got to do to be fast, and I was already telling them I looked at their best laps and one of them also got a video, and I watched it and saw what he was doing, and I was like, yeah, you got to open up your lines, got to make everything as wide as possible, to really get a fast line throughout the corners, apex in, apex out, that type of thing, with late apex versus early apex, and then using all of the track and all that sort of stuff, and trail breaking and all those techniques to not only become a good um, kart racer, but also just good car racer in general. Because I think some of those techniques kind of are interchangeable there. The only thing is with the kart, it's more sensitive to braking and weight transfer, and the steering is a lot more sensitive as well. So, but definitely, yeah, that's definitely a lot of fun to do that, and always, yeah, I whooped on him, but at the same time, it was really, I mean, I didn't really get anything out of it other than trying to just see if I could run a personal best lap, but also really just to share the sport, and be able to teach people about it and stuff. So that's uh what I got out of that mostly. So yeah, it was a lot of fun this weekend doing that. So hopefully be able to do that again soon, and be able to get continue to get better. So yeah, that's it for me this week. Of course, streams as always at Twitch TV/usailor2. Of course, Indy 500 slowly creeping up upon us next month. That'll be here before we know it. So hopefully I'll be able to continue doing that. Of course, got the uh, uh, YouTube page at Scripture Podcasts on YouTube, and go on there and see our videos. And then, of course, set it out of order, but my personal Twitter at JP Huffline on there, which NFL draft coming up. So we'll see how that goes for Jacksonville and next week and how they do. So yeah, that's it for me. Of course, yeah, glad to be back for another week, and we'll continue on and see the return of Rockingham, which we haven't seen for very many years. So we're looking forward to that.
It'll be cool to see that for sure, and hopefully good racing. The crowd, like I said earlier, it seems like they're going to have a decent turnout, so that'll be nice. Bringing back, they've been able to get that at North Wilkesboro. You had that at the Madhouse for the Clash. So now having it at Rockingham too is a very positive thing. Might be an idea to have them actually test the cup cars there, to figure out some things. That might be an idea too. And as always, of course, thank you, Josh, for all you do for posting the show and doing the tech side of it here while we do the show, and then also posting it on the YouTube page, and also, as always, because for our friendship and being able to do this for 260 something episodes. So thank you for that. As always, you can find me at PGMGSP28 on Instagram and Blue Sky, PGMatthew28 on Twitter, GSP1428 on YouTube, and of course you can find, which is where you can find the audio feed of this show. You can also find the audio feed on philipgmatthew.com. As Josh mentioned, the Gripster Podcast YouTube page where the video feed is. Next week, we'll come back, episode 265, and we'll spend time talking about the Xfinity and trucks at Rockingham, Formula One, and Saudi. And then the NFL draft. We'll definitely talk about the NFL draft, preview what our teams are going to do. Hopefully by that point, I would think that the Niners would have tried or possibly gotten Brock signed. Because if they haven't, then they really ought to be looking at alternatives. There'll be a rally. There'll be a rally in Spain, along with MotoGP and Moto2 in Jerez. Cup and Xfinity at Talladega. So that'll be the following week. So we'll have a small, not that much going on, only NASCAR. Couple of things to recap also, and the whatchamacall, the roundup, and yeah, we'll come back next week better than ever. Happy Easter, everyone that celebrates Easter. And we'll be back episode 265, have results on what happened in that sim race, the Enduro. Hopefully I have some hardware to hold up. Be nice. But either way, we'll talk about it. And anything else that comes up in the world of racing, talk about here on the Gripster Podcast. So for Josh and Phil, thanks as always for listening, and we'll see you next time.